There are moments in the UFC where the fight doesn't begin with the first punch, it begins with the walk. The music hits, the lights drop, the crowd roars. And suddenly, the octagon becomes a coliseum. What you're about to see isn't just a list, it's a journey through the most unforgettable entrances in UFC history, from goosebumps to chaos. These are the top 10 most iconic UFC walk-ins of all time, and we're counting down. Let's walk. Number 10, Ronda Rousey, bad reputation at UFC 190, August 1st, 2015. She didn't walk to the cage, she stormed. As Joan Jett's bad reputation blared through the arena in Rio de Janeiro, Ronda Rousey made it clear this was her octagon. UFC 190 wasn't just another title defense, it was a message. In just 34 seconds, she dismantled Beth Correa with brutal precision. The walkout, the stare, the silence before the storm, it was pure intimidation. That night, Ronda didn't just defend her belt, she defended an empire, one stride at a time. And from one anthem to another. Number 9, Mark Hunt, Land Down Under, at UFC 193, November 2015. 80,000 fans packed into Melbourne's Etihad Stadium. As Land Down Under played, Mark Hunt stepped into the cage with the quiet confidence of a man who doesn't bluff. Bigfoot Silva was flattened, and as the Aussie crowd erupted, Hunt gave them what they came for, a walk-off KO, preceded by a walk-in that felt like home. But now, we take it back to the Midwest, where the firehouse meets the fight game. Number 8, Stipe Miocic, Till I Die, at UFC 203, September 2016. MGK's voice echoed through Cleveland as their hometown hero walked into the cage to defend his heavyweight crown. Miocic wasn't just a fighter, he was a firefighter, a full-time warrior of two worlds. Overeem came out swinging, but Stipe finished it in one. That walk-in was more than music, it was a city marching behind its son. Next up, a walk-in so infectious the entire crowd became the chorus. Number 7, Darren Till, Sweet Caroline at UFC Liverpool, May 2018. You couldn't hear Bruce Buffer, you could barely hear the song. As Sweet Caroline played, the crowd, 8,000 strong, sang every word like it was national pride. Till walked out like a man on a mission, and while the win over Stephen Thompson was debated, the walk-in was crystal clear. Liverpool had arrived. From Merseyside energy to monster energy. Number 6, Brock Lesnar, UFC 100, July 2009. There was no song, no softness, just stomping, seething, brute force. Brock Lesnar walked to the cage like a T-Rex in a cage of lions, and when the doors shut behind him, he turned Frank Mir into rubble. UFC 100 was the most watched card of its time, and Lesnar's walk-in was the perfect opening scene for mayhem, but from beasts to the Stockton streets. Number 5, Nate Diaz, Ambitions as a Writer at UFC 202, August 2016. My goodness, it's a Tupac hit the speakers. Nate Diaz hit the tunnel. No theatrics, no smiles, just a cold march to war. In one of the greatest fights in UFC history, Diaz and McGregor painted the cage red. But that walkout? It was raw Stockton soul. Authentic, untamed, unforgettable. And speaking of unforgettable, this one felt like a movie. Number 4, Jorge Masvidal, Scarface theme at UFC 244, November 2019. It was the first BMF title, MSG. The lights dropped, and Jorge Masvidal, in a silk robe, walked out to the haunting strings of Scarface. Tony Montana would have been proud. Diaz was on the other side, but it didn't matter. That walk-in, that was cinema, that was Jorge Masvidal, the villain you couldn't help but cheer. Now let's get theatrical, like pro wrestling level psychological warfare. Number 3, Israel Adesanya, the Undertaker theme at UFC 276, July 2022. The bell tolled, the lights turned purple, and Adesanya emerged holding an urn with Jared engraved on it. No fighter had ever done this, turned a walk-in into a horror scene. Vince McMahon was cage-aside, and even he had to nod. 5 rounds later, Cannonier had been neutralized. But the win? It started the moment that first bell rang. Not the round bell, the Undertaker's. But when it comes to hype, no one does it like this man. Number 2, Conor McGregor. Foggy Dew plus Hypnotize at UFC 205, November 2016. It was the first event at Madison Square Garden. The stakes never higher. The Foggy Dew played with Sinead O'Connor's voice trembling through the arena, followed by the boom of Big E's Hypnotize. McGregor didn't just walk out, he arrived. Then he made history, becoming the first simultaneous 2-division champion by dismantling Eddie Alvarez. The walk-in matched the moment, iconic. And finally, the most chilling walkout in UFC history. Number 1, Anderson Silva, Ain't No Sunshine by DMX at UFC 126, February 2011. There was no dancing, no smile, just silence, shadow, and sorrow. Silva walked to the octagon with DMX's haunting Ain't No Sunshine as his soundtrack, and a front kick to Vitor Belfort's chin as his punctuation. That kick became legend, but the walk? It was poetry before violence. It was death before the storm. It was Silva. Some fighters make history with their fists. Others, they etch it in silence, in swagger, in song. These weren't just walk-ins, they were declarations of war, legacy, and soul. So now we ask you, was Silva truly number 1? Did we disrespect Diaz by not putting him higher? And is McGregor's MSG moment really unbeatable? Let the debate begin in the comments, because in the UFC, the walk is part of the war.